Hi, this is Ms. Pellegrin, and today we're looking at Module 3, Lesson 9, using if-then moves in solving equations. So Lesson 9 is a continuation of Lesson 8, so we will be looking at understanding and using addition, subtraction, multiplication and division, and substitution properties in order to solve the equations that are in this form or in this form. And they are all of those letters, all of those variables have specific rational numbers. You will also be seeing that you can rewrite an equivalent equation that only has integer coefficients, okay, by multiplying both sides by the correct number. And so we're going to talk about the correct number. So in your opening exercise, Heather practices soccer and piano each day. She practices the piano for 2 hours. After 5 days, she practiced both piano and soccer for a total of 20 hours. Assuming that she practiced soccer the same amount of time each day, how many hours per day, which is our H, that they want us to use, did she practice soccer? Okay. So, she practices soccer and piano. Each day, she practices the piano for 2 hours. After 5 days, she practiced both of them for a total of 20 hours. And we're assuming that she's practicing soccer the same amount of time each day. How many hours per day did she practice soccer? Okay, so five days, and on each day she is practicing some number of hours for soccer that we don't know, so we're representing that with H. And then she's also practicing 2 hours of the piano. So H plus 2 is representing how many hours she's practicing, and then she's doing the same thing every day for 5 days. So H equals hours of soccer. And it gives us a total of 20. Okay. So this is for each day. This part right here is representing the amount of practice. That one is for soccer. And that was representing the hours for the piano. And then 20 is the total amount of time. Okay, so just rewrite that so that we can now solve. First thing we need to do here is we need to get rid of these parentheses. So we need to do that distributive property. So that's 5 times H, which is 5H. And this is the part that a lot of people keep forgetting. We have to also multiply 5 times positive 2, which is a positive 10, is equal to 20. So first we distributed. Next, we are going to do the additive inverse of that coefficient. So minus 10 from both sides of the equal sign, which leaves me with 5h is equal to 10. So this was doing the additive inverse. And then next we're going to multiply by the reciprocal. We have just the variable and the h, so we're going to multiply by the reciprocal. Which leaves us with h is equal to 10 over 5. So this was multiply by the reciprocal. And then finally, h equals 10 divided by 5. So h is equal to 10 divided by 5 is 2. So 2 hours soccer. Let's double check, does that make sense? So in previous ones we were looking at solutions. So instead of the h, if we say h equals, this is our solution. Then that means if we plug it in, instead of an h, we're going to put in a 2. 2 plus 2 equals 20. We need to make sure. So 2 plus 2 is 4, doing the parentheses first. And then that's showing multiplication. 5 times 4 is 20. So 2 was a very good solution. Okay. Okay, over 5 days, Jake practices piano for a total of 2 hours. Jake practices soccer the same amount of time each day. If he practiced piano and soccer for a total of 20 hours, how many hours did he practice soccer? So again, our total is 20 hours. Okay, so over 5 days, he's practicing the piano for 2 hours total. So here is our 2 hours that he practices the piano. In the whole week, he just does those 2 hours. And then he does the same amount of time each day for soccer. And we don't know that, so we're also going to have plus those 5 days, some number of hours that we don't know. And everything is a total of 20 hours. So piano, this is for the soccer, and this is the total. Okay. So then we will solve that. So first we're going to do the additive inverse of the constant. So the additive inverse of positive 2 is negative 2, which leaves me with 5h is equal to 20, and a negative 2 gives me 18. They had different signs, so I subtracted them. And then we're going to multiply by the reciprocal. That leaves me with h is equal to 18 over 5. And so when I do 18 divided by 5, I get h is equal to 3.6. So 3.6 hours each day. For soccer, that he practiced soccer. Okay. So let's look at these two equations. we want to know how are they similar and how are they different. Okay, so we were still talking about piano here, and we were talking about soccer, and we were talking about 5 days. We talked about a total of 20 hours, so that was all the same. The difference was they said a total of 2 hours instead of each day that they were doing the 2 hours. Okay, so in our last one here, each day we had piano for the 2 hours. So here we had the parentheses because piano was happening every single day and we were multiplying it by 5. So therefore we had to do the distributive property first. And then we went down to our normal additive, inverse, and multiply by the reciprocal steps. Here we just started out with the very first thing we did is we did the additive inverse of the constant. And then we did the E multiplied by the reciprocal. Okay. So depending on how our situation starts, might change our steps a little bit. We still have the additive inverse and the multiply by the reciprocal. However, we may have to do things like distribute or combine like terms first. And then does it affect the answer? Yes, because now this 2, the amount of piano time is less. It's not being multiplied by the 5 like it was here. This time we were multiplying 5 times h and getting 5h and 5 times 2. But if you forget to do that part, then you would end up with the same answer. Okay. And then if we wanted to look at how much time was that really, so 3.6 hours, it's not 3 hours and 6 minutes. We would have to think about the fact that it is 0.60, and there are 60 minutes in an hour. So if we multiply 0.6 times the 60 minutes that are in the hour, we get 36 minutes. So this is 3 hours and 36 minutes. Which makes sense because half would be 30 minutes if it was 0.5. And so it's just a little bit more than half. 0.6 is just a little bit more than 0.5. Okay, so in example 1, we have Fred and Sam are a team in the local 138.2 mile bike runathon. Fred will compete in the bike race and Sam is going to compete in the run. So Fred bikes at an average of 8 miles per hour. Sam runs at an average speed of 4 miles per hour. The bike race begins at 6 a.m., followed by the run. Sam predicts that he will finish the run at 2:33 a.m. the next morning. How many hours will it take them to complete the entire bike run-a-thon? Okay, so the bike race is starting at 6 a.m. So let's look at from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. is 12 hours. And then from 6 p.m. to 12 p.m. is 6 hours. And then from 12 p.m. to 2 a.m. is 2 hours. So that's our hours. We have 33 minutes added to that. So 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10, carry my 1. So that's 20 hours and 33 minutes. So how many hours? It will take them 20 hours and 33 minutes. Okay, but we need that as a decimal so that we're able to use it. So 33 minutes out of there's 60 minutes in an hour. 33 divided by 60 equals 0.55. So 20.55 hours. Okay, if T is the distance, if T is how long it takes Fred to complete the bike race in hours, write an expression to find Fred's total distance. Okay, so we have this formula. Distance is equal to the rate times the time. So we want to know if T is how long it takes him to complete it in hours, we want the total distance. So the distance is equal to his rate. So Fred's rate was 8 miles per hour. 8 miles per hour times the time. So if we multiply 8, his speed, times the amount of time that it takes him to do it, we'll get how far he's going. Write in expression in terms of T for Sam's time. So this was for Fred's. So then for Sam, we're going to have so since T is Fred's time and 20.55 is the total time, Sam's running after, we're going to have the total amount of time. To find Sam's time, we take the total amount of time and we subtract the amount of time that Fred has, and we're representing that with T. Write an expression in terms of T that represents Sam's total distance. Okay, so again, if we want to know distance, distance is equal to the rate times the time. So his distance is equal to his rate, which was 4. If we look back, it was 4 in that word problem. And then the time, well, the time we just wrote was 20.55 minus T. Now we're going to write and solve the equation for the total distance. So 8T is Fred plus 4 times 20.55 T, which was Sam, and the total was 138.2 miles for the run bikeathon. Okay, so looking at this, I see those parentheses, and so I need to, whoops, that's supposed to say minus T. Minus T. Okay, so we need to do the distributive property first. So we're going to multiply 4 times 20 0.55, so we have 8t, it's not within the distributive property, plus 4 times 20.55, which gives me 82.2. Then we are doing 4 times, take away t, so that's taking away 4t equals 138.2. Okay. So then we are going to rearrange it. Let's put the t's next to each other. So we have 8t, and then we're taking away 4t, which is the same as adding a negative 4t. So 8t plus a negative 4t plus 82.2 equals 138.2. So 8t plus a negative 4t is 4t plus 82.2 equals 138.2. Okay, so now I've got it down to where it's a two-step equation. So I can subtract the additive inverse. Or do the additive inverse, sorry. 82.2. Which leaves me with 4t is equal to 56. And then we're going to multiply by the reciprocal, so times a fourth times a fourth. Leaves me with t is equal to 56 over 4. So t is equal to 14. So remember, t was Fred's time. $14 hours. So then what's left over is Sam's time. So Sam's time it took them 20 hours and 55 minutes total. Taking away the amount that it took for Fred leaves us with 6.55 hours. Okay, how far will Fred bike? And how much time will it take him to complete his leg of the race? So he was going 8 mile distance is equal to the rate times the time. So he was going so the distance is equal to the rate he was going, which was 8, times the time he spent, which was 14. Okay, so d is equal to, the distance is equal to 112. 8 times 4 is 112. And then how far will Sam run? So we had Sam was 4 times, so his rate was 4. We're multiplying times 20.55 minus t. 4 times 20.55. Oh wait, sorry. Scratch that. So his time, we found out, was, or Fred's time was 14. So then 4 times 20.55 minus 14 is 6.55. And so then when we multiply, we get 26.2 is the number of miles. Okay, and that is all.